So we are on part 2 of the Diddy trial. Since the trial began on Monday, May 12th, 2025, so far we have heard from Israel Flores, who was the assistant director of security at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles at the time of the infamous incident where Diddy was seen running down the hall in a towel, physically assaulting Cassie Ventura. We also heard from Daniel Phillip, who was a male escort manager, and he discussed how he had been paid to have S with Cassie in front of Diddy while Diddy enjoyed himself in the corner. The witnesses we heard from the following day, which was May 13th, 2025, is more testimony from Daniel Phillip and then from Cassie Ventura herself. And the things she shared with the court are beyond disturbing. So I'm going to do my best to describe what she went through and include detail without getting too graphic. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, her experiences just add further paint strokes to the picture that has already been painted of this extremely vile and depraved human being and the depraved acts that he is allegedly capable of committing against others. And in my opinion, that he loved using his power to dehumanize and cripple people emotionally, psychologically, and physically. However, he is currently trying to debunk every nasty and horrendous thing we have ever heard about him as he is showing up in the courtroom dressed like a schoolboy and reading a Bible. So we're going to get into some more of the highlights and most notable moments. Please hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe to my channel, and also turn on the notifications so that you never miss an upload. I have created a playlist specifically dedicated to this case, so you will be able to find all of the videos there. So as I said, Cassie Ventura took the stand on May 13th, and she first described how she and Diddy met. In 2005, when Cassie was 19 years old, she was introduced to Combs through music industry connections. At the time, Ventura had recently signed with producer Ryan Leslie's Next Selection Lifestyle Group, who was working on her debut music projects. Leslie facilitated her introduction to Combs, who, as we know, is a prominent figure in the music industry as the founder of Bad Boy Records. Combs was apparently impressed by Ventura's potential and signed her to a joint venture with Bad Boy Records in 2006 to release her debut single, Me and You, marking the beginning of their professional relationship. Their interactions initially remained platonic, at least to the outside world, with Ventura noting in her trial testimony that they spent time together in a professional capacity, such as discussing her music career. Their relationship then became romantic, at least publicly, with reports indicating that they started dating around 2007 after Combs ended his relationship with Kim Porter. In Cassie's testimony, we get to hear directly from her just how bad things were. I feel like this woman is finally getting her time to speak. She is finally getting her voice on these issues. And what she endured was absolutely horrific. Cassie, who is currently 8.5 months pregnant, described a long pattern of alleged physical abuse, including incidents where Combs would, quote, knock her over, drag, kick, and stomp on her head, end quote. And if that wasn't bad enough, she went into detail about countless depraved sexual encounters that she was allegedly coerced into participating in. Ventura, who is clearly pregnant and was very emotional, talked about the 2016 hotel assault that was shown on video and the freak-offs that we've all heard so much about, which were drug-fueled sex encounters orchestrated by Combs, where she was directed to perform with male escorts while he watched and sometimes recorded. She stated that these events occurred frequently, involving drugs like ecstasy, and left her feeling absolutely humiliated. And she felt she had no ability to refuse these requests due to Combs' control over her life.
Cassie testified that freak-offs became something she did not want to do, but felt like she had to keep him happy. She told jurors one of these encounters was happening when Combs was caught on camera assaulting her in this disturbing 2016 Los Angeles hotel surveillance video, obtained exclusively and released by CNN last year. Diddy apologized in a since-deleted Instagram post. She also said Diddy had mood swings and was often violent towards her, leaving physical marks, and that instead of music, freak-offs became a job for her.
And in this article, it described just how insane these freak-offs were, and that they were so frequent, they went on for so long, and were so exhausting that they basically took over her life. And also, initially, Diddy would set up these encounters, but eventually, he designated her to be the one to set these things up. She said she felt like if she didn't do these things, it would mean more violence and blackmail against her, pretty much. It was something he would want to do. I would have to It says eventually it became a job for me, pretty much. It was something he would want to do. I would have the contact to set it up, but in the beginning, Sean set it up. I wasn't working on my music. I was recovering from partying. That took a big chunk out of my life, Ventura said. The freak-offs became a job where there was no space to do anything else but to recover and to try to feel normal again. Staying up for days on end, taking drugs, other substances, drinking, having sex with a stranger. 36, 48, 78 hours. The longest ever was 4 days, maybe even more, on and off with the breaks. It was significant, she said. I was recovering from the drugs, dehydration, just staying awake all that time. He would bring them up at random times, Ventura said, of the freak-offs, which involved other women having sex with men in front of Combs at his command too, with plenty of baby oil on hand. Now back in the courtroom, Daniel Phillip, the male escort manager, who had been paid by Diddy to have with Cassie, corroborated her description of the physical assault that she faced, detailing how he was present for Combs' violence against Cassie himself. This was a post describing that. It says Phillip also recounted another incident where Cassie was on the computer when Diddy shouted at her to come here before he started dragging her by her hair into the bedroom. Cassie was screaming and repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry," while he heard what sounded like Diddy slapping her. He said he was shocked and was worried about losing his life if he reported the incident. Now, as far as how both sides are framing this, prosecutors highlighted Combs' coercive power, while the defense, led by Tenny Garagos, argued that the acts were consensual while questioning the accuser's motives. Now, I do want to touch on a particularly weird moment of the trial that a reporter named Lauren Conlon shared after taking a break from the trial to share what was being discussed. We've all heard about the baby oil that Diddy used, but apparently the discussion of the baby oil went on for an unusual length of time, to the point where a lot of people were side-eyeing each other and wondering what the heck was going on.
I had to do this video because it's getting crazy. I mean, the talk of baby oil, and I'm not even trying to be funny, the talk of baby oil got to a point where they had to have a sidebar. Thank goodness Tenny Garagos objected, because at one point, Emily Johnson, doing a great job as the prosecutor, she's questioning Cassie, and she probably questioned her for about 10 minutes about baby oil. And it got to the point where Cassie had to tell us that Sean Combs made her get into a blow-up pool of baby oil and Astroglide with all of her clothes on. And then we had to hear about how many bottles of baby oil they went through during a freak-off, which, by the way, was 10. And she described they were the big size bottles. I mean, there's so much more. I didn't bring my notepad out, but I mean, a lot of us are wondering, what does this have to do with anything? Are they just trying to corroborate the freak-offs when other witnesses come on the stand and talk about this baby oil and Astroglide? It's really strange.
I will share my thoughts at the end about why I think that they went into this baby oil discussion for such a long time. But I wanted to touch on the image that Diddy is currently trying to portray. He is apparently showing up in khakis, wearing glasses, and holding a Bible. He also hasn't dyed his hair in a while, so his hair has a lot of gray in it. And it's obvious that he's trying to gain sympathy and perhaps present himself as a reformed man. But I don't think that jurors are going to buy it.
We see him manipulating the jury in the way he is dressing. I mean, just curious. Did you ever see Sean Combs wearing reading glasses?
Never, not once. I never saw him without his hair being perfectly styled. I never saw him without a Marni, a Gucci, a Prada suit on. Let me tell you a little story once. I was with Puffy flying on a private plane, and I had all the press there to see his arrival, and Puff was really mad with me because he didn't want the press filming him arriving in his car. He wanted the aeroplane behind him. He thought that image would be better. The reason I tell you that story is those are the type of details that really matter to him. So when you see him reading a Bible, when you see him with grey hair, when you see him staring at the jury, turning around to look at Cassie, none of that is by accident. All of that is planned. Puffy plans his life like a movie, and he's the director and the star.
You know, yesterday I was told, no way would Sean Combs have a stylist. BS. Any chance in HELL that Sean Combs' outfits are not carefully orchestrated?
No chance. He will have looked over lookbooks. He will have had conversations whether or not he should be wearing his own fashion line. He has a fashion line called Sean John. They decided against this. And so I've never seen him in a button-down white shirt and a sweater, a jumper. That just isn't how he dresses.
Yeah, I personally don't think that the outfits are going to work. And it seems as though his daughters are not buying it either. They are leaving the courtroom in distress.
Back up.
In my opinion, having his children there is not about support or to stand by their dad. They are being used for sympathy for the jury as well, and perhaps to throw Cassie off as she is having to describe things about their dad, knowing that they are going to be horrified and probably scarred by it. There's no other reason that you would want your children to sit through this type of testimony other than your own self-serving purposes. Now let's get into my final thoughts. First, as for the slow start to this trial and the extensive talk of baby oil, I think they are laying a foundation. They don't want to leave any room to dispute that this is a sick and depraved human being who is capable of coercing anybody into doing anything. And I think if you talk about baby oil use for long enough, you will leave the jury with a lasting feeling of disgust. And no level of Catholic schoolboy portrayal will erase what has been burned into their brains. Secondly, we do have to ask, will they be able to prove the charges that are being brought against him? The case being made by defense is basically like, yeah, he may have had a weird sex life and done things that most people would find degrading and abhorrent, but having weird bedroom activity is not against the law as long as it involves consenting adults. And Cassie was an adult, and as far as they're concerned, she consented. She didn't say no. She didn't leave. She didn't refuse. She participated and even set up her own appointments with these men. However, the counter argument is, in my mind, what is consent? Because if you feel like you are in danger if you say no, then that's not consent. That is coercion.
She says she was threatened, recorded, injured, addicted, and trapped in what prosecutors now call a sex trafficking operation. Cassie testified that Diddy threatened to release the sex tapes from the freak-offs, intimate abusive sessions he orchestrated with the male escorts. And on one flight, he showed her the clips she thought were deleted and told her he'd leak them if she didn't comply. And when they landed, he told her to participate in another session. And she did. Whatever was going to make him stop threatening me, I did it. In a 2017 text, she compared him to Ike Turner. And she says, I quote, "Nothing good comes out of FOs anymore. You treat me like you're Ike Turner." Then she described a violent assault in 2013 before Drake's OVO festival, where Diddy allegedly threw her to the ground, gashing her eyebrow so badly she needed stitches. Photos of her injury were shown to the jury, and she told him, "Here's a picture so you can remember." She detailed the physical effects of years of abuse, mouth sores, UTIs, stomach pains, and an opioid addiction developed to numb the trauma. She said, "I felt mostly empty after every freak-off." And today she recalled blacking out on GHB, only to wake up nude in the shower with Diddy and a male escort handgame outside. She testified, "I didn't know what happened. I was just gone."
That sounds like coercion to me. People are arrested all the time for forcing women and children to engage in sexual activities. And they probably said yes in those moments, but that does not mean that they were willing. What were the stakes if they said no? Also, I think we want to know, will we actually see any celebrities take the stand and get roped into this? Yes, we absolutely want justice for Cassie, but we also want to know who was involved, who knew what and when, who participated, and who ignored this vile behavior, not just against Cassie, but against the countless victims in Hollywood now who were also allegedly forced to endure horrific and dehumanizing treatment by this monster in exchange for fame and fortune. Anyway, that is all I have for you in this one. Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. I will keep the updates coming as often as I can, but that is why I'm separating them into parts instead of days, because I will not be able to do this every single day, but I will keep you updated as often as I possibly can. I appreciate you so much for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.